Short here, and welcome to the first video of 2024. I'm so excited that you all are here, and I know you're here because you want to learn about how to set goals better from here on out. I don't know about you, but when I've been setting goals for the past decade, I'm just going to be honest with you, it wasn't working. It really wasn't working. So much so, I have a little bit of but there was feelings of shame and guilt and being like, man, I know I'm not supposed to be here. I know I'm supposed to be so much further along. And in the grand scheme of things, what does that actually mean? I think the reality is I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be so that I can be here to serve you, to help you. So if you are just new to your personal development and professional development journey, this is a great place to start, because if you're like me and in the past, I started with setting goals, right? It's the new year. Today is the beginning of January 2024, and so if you are ahead of the game, you set goals already in December, but if you are a little later in the game, then you're deciding to set goals now. And so, let's be honest, there's no time limit to any of this. I think it's important to celebrate ourselves. The fact that we even have the courage to set goals, but the reality is that people in the past haven't taught us how to do it more effectively. And so for the past decade, I have been trying to piece things together, but unfortunately it wasn't really working. And so I was like, I need to do something different this new year. And so I know we say that every year, but this year I was like, so much so that I am going to not spend my favorite holiday with my favorite people and bringing in the new year, but instead I'm going to sleep early so I can wake up early the next day to travel to LA and attend the Growth Day conference with Brendon Burchard. And so if you don't know who he is, I would highly, highly recommend him. He's been doing this for the past 15 years. When we were with him on the first, that was the 15th year that he has put on a Growth Day conference 15 years in a row. And so what I really appreciated about that day is that he treated us like we were one of his billionaire clients. And so he just treated it as a high performance coaching session, and kind of really threw away the notes and said, I really want to meet y'all where you're at, and I really appreciated that. So I realized while I was there, I was curious because that was the first time I went to a conference by someone who I've been watching for a really long time, and I was curious of the kinds of people that he attracted. And so I've kind of been breaking it down in my mind, our roles in the tribe, as you can say. I don't think we're much different than when we were in our cave people days. I think we just have fancy phones and fancy clothes, but when you really think about it, we're still very tribal human beings. And so I've been really trying to simplify my role in the tribe. And so I thought maybe these are my people, these people who go to Brendon Burchard's events. And I was like, I wonder if there's some commonalities or patterns I can figure out. And so I did a little bit of research, and I was like, it's actually still quite a mix of people. But obviously the main component is that they value growth. And so I just want to tell you right now, as we are starting off the new year 2024, and I'm here kicking off my channel with more intent and more of a decision that we're going to be here together, that's the one thing that I believe you're going to find the commonality amongst all my videos is the intention for growth. And so you'll hear more about that as I get to go into what he shared with us during that day. And so let's jump into that day really quick. Well, actually, let me just rewind really quick. So what I realized, I feel like my role in the tribe is to host gatherings in general. I feel like I'm a circle host, a circle gatherer, things of that sort. I don't think I'm the person who's holding the ceremony, but I'm definitely the one who's like, hey, come over here, we're having a gathering, or hey, over here, this teacher wants to teach us, and then really formulating that structure. So I feel like that's one of my roles. So I guess you can call it more of a coordinator role. And then the second role I realized that I really enjoy is being an information gatherer. So I'm the type of person where I'm not afraid to go to other tribes to see what they're doing and seeing what's working. And not only other tribes, but really get to know the leaders in those tribes and be like, hey, what is working over here? What can I do to bring it back to my tribe? And so as we all are one, a part of, one in humanity, I think we all crave and want a lot of the similar things. And of course, people are doing things differently that can be implemented with where you're at. And so this is me sharing what I learned from that day. So I'm going to let you know right now, I am not the expert. I am the messenger of this. And so it's going to be through my lens and through my perspective. But as much as possible, I'm going to keep it as close to what Brendon put out there with my little spin on it. So It's basically going to be a framework where we are talking about how to set new goals from here on out. And like I said, I wish someone would have told me this kind of information a decade ago, because I definitely would be, I think, somewhere else, at least. Anyways, I'm going to give myself some grace. Regardless, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at, because I want to, what's the word? I want to meet y'all where you're at, in the sense of like, that's how potent and important I feel about this content, because I wish I would have heard this content earlier, so they could have shared it with me a decade ago. So if you are early on in your personal and professional development, I hope that this is serving you maybe in your first, second, or third year, at least, not a decade later. But if it is a decade later, that's okay. This is where I'm at too. So again, I'm going to be sharing with the framework with you that he shared with us, as he would share with his billionaire coaching clients. So let's get started. All right. Woo-wee. Let's take a deep breath really quick, y'all. Okay. Before we get started, I actually want to again celebrate you for taking the time to watch this video. I just want to say thank you ahead of time, because I'm just getting to be here and really pour into what I've learned from Brendon, and along with just what I've been learning in the past years. So I would say the best thing that you can do right now is to turn off your phone, or at least put it on silent, put it on the bed, put it in a different room, turn off the music, turn off the TV, get away from the nieces and the nephews and the theas and the theos, and really get to a place where you can focus. Because this isn't easy work, y'all. This is work that most people don't do. So that's why I want to celebrate you, because if you're on this video, then you do value growth. And I just want you to know, like, that's going to be the commonality throughout this whole channel, is how we can continue to grow as the best versions of ourselves in this season. And so again, if you're really serious about wanting to get through this content, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you get to a quiet place. Put on the headphones, put the noise cancellation, get a piece of paper, get a notepad. I would say just get a notepad for any times that you're on my video, because I'm going to be here to share with you what I've learned from other tribes. And it is going to take some reflection, it's going to take some deep thinking, it's going to take some silence, and yeah, so get yourself prepared before we jump into the video. So go ahead and take a moment, press pause on this video, and go ahead and do that, and I will be back when you're ready. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this framework that Brendon Burchard shared. So I just wanna hint that if you want to go to his channel and watch it directly from him, go for it. I'm pretty sure you can just type it in and it's in there. But I'm here to just messenger what I got from that Growth Day conference. So let's get started. All right. First and foremost, like what we were talking about, most people set goals, and then by March happens, we tend to fall off the bandwagon, and we ask ourselves why. Well, the reality is we probably didn't start in the right place. A lot of people start with goals, but for whatever reason, we just can't stick with it throughout the rest of the year. And because a big reason is because we're not starting in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the framework, which is called D.R.G.T. All right. So this is where most of us start, is with goals. And so as you can see, that there's two other steps that need to happen before we even get to the goals part. So the question is, what is a goal? A goal is something that stretches us into that uncomfortability zone. And let's be honest, we are wired to want to seek comfort and safety and survival. So to be setting goals is asking ourselves to be uncomfortable. So again, I just want to congratulate you and celebrate you. I'm not trying to give like participation points or whatever the case, but like to be a participant in your own life and to say like, I want to set goals like for real, like beyond what I've been told, my whole life. Like that's a big deal. Most people don't set goals. So just like, I want you to really just like be proud of yourself that you're even here in the first place. But like I said, goals requires stretching. Okay? Stretching into the uncomfortable. So it doesn't mean that it has to be 100% stretch. It can be a 50% stretch, a 20% stretch, a 10% stretch. I don't know about you, but what I got caught up in is I was always trying to stretch to 100%. And a lot of times this looked like life goals to me. And let's be real. First off, we don't know how long we're gonna live. So to have like a life goal, man, it can happen, and it makes sense. And I want to give you like a framework of that. Like if you're gonna do like a life goal, then you'd want to break it down by like the decades, right? And then you probably want to break it down by like the 5-year goal, right? This is what I typically did and normally did, and then you want to work it backwards. So then you get to 3-year goal, and then you get to 1-year goal, and then you get to the months, right? So you got January, February, March, April, and then you get down to the date. And I realized doing that, it was just too much for my human brain. And every year, I just became like frustrated with myself and disappointed with myself. I was like, man, like why can't I get this? Well, the reality is, for me, and I'm gonna share this with you, it wasn't necessarily about my life goals, like which that is super important. I think you should do that and think about what you're working to. If that's how your brain works, do it. I thought that's how my brain worked, but I decided to do something different this time around because I was all like, if I just keep doing the same thing over and over, what do they call that? Insanity, right? So I was like, we gotta try something different. So I did it based off of the season. This right here, man, if someone would have told me, set goals based off of the season you're in. Because if you go back to what we just did right now, is like you have life, right? And we broke it down by the decade, and then we broke it down, et cetera, et cetera. So within the year goal, so 1 year, in a year, we have seasons. Sometimes we're in a winter. Sometimes we're in a spring. Sometimes we're in a summer. That's really good. And sometimes we're in a fall. But the reality is that yes, nature has certain seasons, right? And we can gauge that. Like winter is going to be September to like, I don't know, February or March. And then you get spring, which is March to June. And then you get summer, June to like August. And then we get fall from September to October, whatever the case may be. And that's, in our yearly cycle. But in the season of life, we have to be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, what season are we in? Are we in a winter, a spring, a summer, or a fall? And we don't know how long a season is. Is a season 1 year? Is a season 3 years? Is a season 5 years? Is it 10 years? I don't know. And I don't know what that means for you. But I can tell you this right now. The season I feel like I'm in a spring season. That's the season I feel like. So what do you think about when you think about these seasons, right? What do you think about when you're in a spring season? You're thinking like new things are happening, right? This new YouTube channel, this new video. You have like this sense of energy of blossoming. You have this sense of energy of renewal and coming in new. You have this sense of fresh air, right? But I just came out of a winter season. Maybe a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, to be honest. And I was in that season for at least 3 years. Maybe even longer. Like 2018 to like 20, like till last year, like 5 years. It was a winter season. So I wasn't creating any content. I wasn't putting anything out there. I was really just like underground, and like the trees were bare. But the reality is, if you're in this season, I just want to speak to the people who are coming up behind me. Because eventually I'll be in summer, thank goodness. But I want you to know, if you are in a winter season right now, I want you to know that things are happening down here. Okay? I want you to know that even though you can't see it, and the trees are bare right now, eventually, as you get here, they'll start turning into something, right? But the roots are growing. The foundation is regenerating, right? The things that are happening below the ground that we can't see, I just want you to know, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Okay, so I'm really like feeling for my people who are in the winter right now. Because I just got out of that, and man, I just wish someone would have told me that, that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Okay, so for those of you who are in a winter season, just keep on going. Okay, keep on setting goals. and stretch. Just stretch at 5%. Stretch at 10%. That's growth. That's still growth that's happening right here. Okay, don't think that you need to be at 100. You know, we can have this conversation again when we're in the summer. That's different. And when we have teams, and we have foundations, and we have support systems, and we have routines, and we have habits, and yeah, we can talk about that then. But if you're in a winter, slow growth is still growth. Okay? So, let's get back to this. So each year, we set goals. And so people are like, what are goals? Goals that make us stretch, depending on the season that we're in, okay? But, as I said before, we're starting at the third mark here. These two right here. There's 2 whole other steps to do before we even get down to here. So what are those? Well, let me go ahead and complete this right here. So what most people do, and what I did for a long time, is I set goals, and then I created tasks. Right? So, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, well, what do I got to do to lose 20 pounds? Okay, I need a meal prep. I need to get a personal trainer. I need to get a gym membership. I need to stop eating sweets. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, you know? I don't know about you, but after every meal, I need to have a little bit of dessert if that's okay. I love a little concha with my cafecito, you know? So that's really my vices. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get rid of that, you know? So that's what we end up doing, right? But what Brendon Burchard was saying is that where we should actually start is with our desires. What does that mean? So in common language, I think this is in common language, what most people say is, what is your why? Okay? And I think we say that a lot because kudos to Simon Sinek. If you go to his TED Talk, it's probably one of the most viewed TED Talks in the whole platform. So I think this is what most people are saying. What is your why? What is your why? What is your why? And it's like, I don't know, it feels a little redundant to me because that video has probably been out for probably almost a decade. So it's found its way into common language. But what I appreciate about Brendon Burchard is that he changed it to desires. And I really like that word. I really think that that's something that evokes a little bit more emotion than why. I mean, first off, it has a couple more letters than that one, but that's it. But if why sounds more resonant with you, let's go ahead and go with that. But I want to take another step for you. So I want you to know desires and why, they're not exactly the same, but they're synonymous. But I want you to take it to the next step. I want you to think about it in your desires too. So think about what we desire, okay? So when you think about what you desire, say you want to lose the 20 pounds, right? So lose 20 pounds. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds, right? Everyone's like, okay, talk about your why. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Because I want to look good, right? That's what we all want to do. So we want to feel good. We want to fit in our clothes. We want to be strong. We want to be fit. We want to be flexible. We want to be movable, bendable, right? But to take it another step further, I challenge you to ask yourself why 7 times. Get to the root. You remember these roots? Get to the root as to why you want to lose 20 pounds. So what you do, why do I want to lose 20 pounds? Because I want to look good. Okay, it's fair. Well, why do you want to look good? Because I want to find a partner. Okay. Well, why do you want to find a partner? So I'm not alone. Well, why don't you want to be alone? Because I want to be happy. Okay. Well, why do you want to be happy? Because what's the point of life if we're not happy? Because you're currently unhappy and you think a partner is going to help with that. Well, why are you currently unhappy? Because I'm overweight. Well, why are you overweight? Because I'm sad. Or I'm depressed. Okay, why are you sad and depressed? You should go up here. Why are you sad and depressed? Well, because my ex broke up with me because I wasn't taking care of myself. Okay, well, why weren't you taking care of yourself? Oh, because I broke up with a friend. Friendship breakup, man. That kind of breakup, in my opinion, hurts a lot more than a romantic breakup, man. We're not gonna get into that. We can talk about that another day. Okay, well, why did y'all break up? because I was drinking all the time. Yeah, well, why are you drinking all the time? Because I was feeling like a loser. Why do you feel like a loser? Because I haven't accomplished any of my goals. Well, why haven't you accomplished any of your goals? And I mean, obviously, it can go on and on and on. But I just say start with 7. But the idea is for you to get to the root of why you want this goal, why you want this desire. So as you start listing out your desires, next to it, ask yourself why, 7 times, why you want that. Because the reality is sometimes a lot of us have goals and it's really not even for us. It was something that was kind of imparted in us. I don't know about you, but I'm first generation in the United States. And so, a big goal for my parents as Filipino immigrants is to go to college. And so that was my goal until I got to college. And then when I graduated college, I was like, okay, now what? And so that goal was actually because of them, because in their mind, they said that getting a college degree is going to be the key to success. I definitely, absolutely believe that education is the key to success, but I don't know about that piece of paper, So, and that's just me being honest. I don't know, if that's an experience that you may have, but we have to ask ourselves, what do we desire? What are our goals? And ask ourselves, are these goals because I want them, or are these goals because of somebody else? And I say that because even a lot of people want to put they want to travel more. That's great. But why do you want to travel more? Oh, because I want to go see the world. Okay, well, why do you want to go see the world? Oh, because, well, what else are we here for? I don't know. You can do anything else with your time, And I'm just using travel as an example because I personally feel like that was on my list 1 year, and I had to ask myself, why do I want to travel? I think travel is a great way to grow. So that's why I would want to travel. But I also had to have that conversation with myself, do I want to travel, or am I being influenced to want to travel because of Instagram, right? I got on Instagram in 2010, and then we were taking pictures of our food, y'all. That's what we were taking pictures of. And obviously, as it's grown and developed, you see everyone traveling. And so if that's in your algorithm, then those images in our mind start saying, I want to go travel. But the times that I traveled, this past summer, I traveled to Ireland and London and Paris, and I was just I was I think I'm okay right now. I don't think traveling, for me is what I want in this season. And that's okay, but I think there's going to be a time in my life where I'm going to want to travel. And so what I'm trying to say is get to the root as to why you have those desires. Get to the root of why you have those goals. And so if you don't know where to start, lucky for you, if you're human, I have a few places where you can start with. Because if you're a human, we've been designed to have a lot of the similar wants and needs and desires. And so there's 4 main desires that humans want. So this is a great place to start. So, 4 desires. So if you're human, some of us are aliens, I get it. Some of us are a lot of other things. But if you are in the form of a human body and flesh, there's 4 things that we typically want. Number 1, is aliveness. What does that mean? Aliveness. That can mean having purpose. That can mean having energy. That can mean having excitement. But I also want you to know and to note that if you're I don't know what the correct word is, but if you're someone that studies language and knows, the origin of things, I'm not saying that I do, but I just want us to just be critical and think about the word of aliveness. I think when most people think of aliveness, what do they think? What are you thinking right now? You're thinking probably some level of upness, right? Some level of jumping out of planes or bungee jumping and things of that sort. And maybe some of you are not, but I don't want you to discount that aliveness can also look like boredom. Aliveness can also look like contemplation. Aliveness can also look like peace. So I just want you to ask yourself, what makes you feel alive? Like truly alive. You know, it can be your art, it could be your music, it could be your creativity, it could be hanging out with your lola or your lolo. That's grandma or grandpa in Tagalog if you don't know what that is. It could be hanging out with your friends, being with your cat or your pets, being with your best friend, going to the movies, whatever it is. What makes you feel alive? And I truly want to ask this question because I feel like in my observation after the pandemic, that little thing that happened in 2020, if y'all weren't there, whenever we're watching this, whenever you're watching this and if YouTube is still around, there is this little bug that went around in 2020 that kind of freaked us all out for good reason. But ever since then, you know, I feel like a lot of people have lost their aliveness. So much so, sometimes I kind of want to like hit them in the back and be like, hey, are you still in there? Are you okay? You know, and the reality is like, yeah, we're in these bodies, y'all, but like that thing on the inside, our spirit and our soul can be already dead. You know, they say the quote, like, some people can feel alive, can feel the most alive to 23 and people die at 73 or something like that. Let me find that quote. But regardless, I just feel like people have just lost their aliveness, and you know, for good reason. But I want you to challenge yourself and ask yourself, what makes you feel alive? And so something I want you to keep in mind is that what made you used to feel like you were alive may not make you feel alive right now. And I wish someone would have told me that when I was in the winter season. Because when I was in the winter season, videos used to make me feel alive. Or not videos. When I was in the winter season, prior to, videos used to make me feel alive. If you go to my old YouTube channel where I was just kind of experimenting, exploring, documenting, expressing myself, like really just giving myself my personal self-talk therapy in my 20s, you can go see that. And I thought that was going to make me feel alive forever. But when I was in a winter season, making videos didn't make me feel alive anymore. And so I had to ask myself, what makes me feel alive in this season? And so I remember it was the small things. It was the small things like taking the bus, or eating at my favorite vegan Mexican restaurant, or getting a piece of pie with one of my coworkers. Never before would I ever thought like those very ordinary, common things would make me feel alive, but sometimes when you're in a winter season, that's what does. And so I really want you to just, again, acknowledge the season you're in. Are you in a winter, a spring, a summer, or a fall? And what makes you feel alive in this season? So the reality is, if we don't feel alive right now, and you don't have it, we start to become bitter and frustrated. So if you're feeling a little bitter right now, or feeling a little frustrated, it's because you're not setting goals that make you feel alive. You're not having desires that make you feel alive. So really ask yourself that, okay? So that's number one, as 4 common desires of what it means to be human. Number 2 is deep connection. Again, I think that little bug in 2020 did a number for us in this little section here. But deep connection, we are wired for connection, y'all. For human connection. That's just how we were made. So what does deep connection mean? So deep connection means the longevity is in the frequency of good connections and relationships. Longevity is the frequency of good connections and relationships. And so, again, that's why I personally really love church. It's something that's been, if you strip it away, obviously, from all of the denominations and all the things that we put on it and all the decorations and like all this stuff, like if you strip it away for just what it is, the meat and potatoes, I really love that on a Sunday, you can expect that there's people gathering somewhere. Like, and I love that. And so it's already embedded into our society because that allows for that frequency and that longevity. You know, the other day I was thinking, what if church wasn't an option? What if church wasn't an option and a place to gather? And it was something else, like the bars or clubs or chess clubs or things of that sort. What if I had no interest in any of that? And I had no place to just be around people? You know, like I don't know. For me, I'm just like, that would be wild. Like I don't know. Anyways, That would just be so different to me. But what I really love about, again, just the structure of it is the frequency. Like, you know, you can find people somewhere hanging out with other people on a Sunday. You know that, during the day. So the frequency, so deep connection. Number 3 is meaningful pursuits. So this means being committed to the hunt. I know that we were talking about like tribe and stuff like that, and we have like hunters and we have gatherers and we have coordinators and information gatherers like myself. Meaningful pursuits is being committed to that pursuit, right? Whether that's your art, whether it's your creativity, whether it's being a great parent. My goodness, y'all, we need better parents. We need better parents, y'all. What is meaningful to you? Because if you feel like you've been languishing, it's because you're not working hard enough towards the meaningful pursuits that bring intrinsic aliveness and closer to other people. So what I love about this meaningful pursuits is that it feeds into the aliveness and deep connection. And so I want you to look at this right here. These all play off of each other, y'all. These all play off of each other. Aliveness plays off of deep connections, which plays off meaningful pursuits. So if you don't know what you desire, again, this is a great place to start. What makes you feel alive? Who do I need to feel connected to more? What kind of connections do I want? What kind of connections do I need? What kind of people do I want in my life? What kind of people do I want to surround around me, right? Because proximity is power. Who we surround ourselves with, y'all, that's going to determine your longevity, right? And I'm not sure about you, but have you ever heard of Blue Zones? Okay. If you don't know what Blue Zones, there's this documentary on Netflix right now. It's called Live to 100. I'm such a geek over this kind of stuff. I just love humans and culture and people. And so I love watching documentaries that are like this. So it's called Live to 100. And it talks about blue zones. And when it comes to blue zones, the one in Okinawa specifically, they have this thing what they call ikigai. And if you're on my channel right now, you can actually go to a workshop I did on ikigai. But ikigai means a reason for being. And so those are two things in Okinawa specifically, and also just in any of the blue zones, but in Okinawa specifically, when they would go to the doctors, y'all, the doctor would ask them maybe like, what's wrong? And then the second thing is like, what's your ikigai? What's your reason for being? And so if that's something you want to figure out and learn about more, go ahead and click on my other video where I did a workshop for my sorority about your ikigai. So it talks about, what I really loved about the workshop is that it's like, what can you do when you're feeling stuck? So yeah, go check that out if that's something that you're interested in. But yeah, that's what I really loved about this particular documentary, because one of them is the ikigai. The second thing is the deep connections. They talk about the one of the secrets to a long life is deep connections, is the community behind it. So much so, let's be honest, for some of us, you know how I was talking to you about those life goals? One of my life goals is to retire my mom, right? And I don't know about you, if you're first generation, second generation, if you come from immigrant backgrounds or in general, but that's a goal that, to be honest, is probably the one life goal that I have attention with the most. Because I feel like being in the States and being first gen, there's this deep sense of gratitude and this deep sense of responsibility to want to give back, right? Give back to those who've been given to us. But it's taken me a long time to really set in and settle with the idea that, yeah, that could be my life goal, but that may not be the reality, right? Because at the end of the day, like, the way that it's all being held, is everything's going to happen the way that it needs to happen. So whether I get to retire my mom or not, If I get to, that's gonna be so awesome and amazing. I'm gonna be like, man, like so proud of myself, and I hope she's proud of me so she can rest. But at the same time, if it doesn't happen, that's okay too, because I realized actually retiring is a Western culture construct. Because in places like in Okinawa, they don't retire. They don't have a word for retirement. They have a word for a reason of being. And they'll probably do it till the end of their life. And I bet you that's the reason why they live to 100, because they don't retire. And so I just wanted to be transparent with you. You know, when it comes to meaningful pursuits, for a long time, my meaningful pursuit is to retire my mom. And as much as I want to, I've had to accept the fact that if I don't do it, that doesn't make me any less of a child of hers, you know what I mean, any less of how I spent my time here on earth. And so I just wanted to kind of make those connections for those of you who may have one of these as your goals, especially if you come from an Asian Pacific Islander background. Just know that retirement is it's a Western construct, and that if you actually want to live to 100, we want to continue to pursue a reason for being. We want to continue to pursue that aliveness, that deep connection, those meaningful pursuits. But the last thing, and I can't say that everybody does this, but the last thing that's a commonality in being human in our desires is growth. And this one is so important to me. It's something that you'll find a commonality in all of my content, is pursuing that growth. I think for the most part, most people desire those. I don't think everyone desires growth. I think intrinsically they do, but at some point, like I said, most people, we're looking for survival. We're looking for comfort. We're making sure that we're not fighting or flighting or anything like that. And so I just want to again celebrate you that if you're here and you're wanting to grow, that is something to be so proud of yourself about. Especially if you're still watching this video. You could click on any other video, but you're still here. I want you to know I really, really appreciate that, because I really just have so much to share, so much messaging, so much information to share with you in hopes. My meaningful pursuit, y'all, the hunt is in hopes that whoever's coming up behind me, like this will be helpful for you, because this has taken me over a decade to realize, like, I wish someone would have started with desires with me, not goals. You know, because then if I would have known what my desires were in the season of my life, I would have, I don't know, I just felt like it would have been like one step in front of the other. But really, I've been kind of like this, and like kind of like this, and like, you know, I think I'm moving and I'm being busy, but like I'm not really like taking these really intentional steps, because I was never starting with my desires, I was starting with my goals. But to really connect all of these things, again, so if you don't know what your desires are, start here. Start with these things: aliveness, deep connection, meaningful pursuits, and growth. Okay? So once you've done that, again, you're going to write down a desire. Retire my mom. Well, why do I want to retire my mom? Well, because she needs to rest. Okay. We all need to rest, y'all. Let's be honest. We're all a little fatigued and tired and not getting enough sleep, too much blue light, too much caffeine. She needs to rest. Okay, well, why does she need to rest? So just know, and this is another thing I want to tell you, every desire you write, if you don't know why you have that desire, you'll lose energy behind it. And this is why I want you to start with desires, because we need to have energy and emotion behind it. What does that mean? We need to have emotion behind our desires. What's emotion? Emotion is energy in motion. This is why we fall off in March or June, because we don't have any emotion behind these desires. I'll tell you this right now, this is the first time I'm doing it, but this year I decided to just like be simple. Simple. Like before I was like writing all these goals, and I'm literally last year I looked at them and I was like, I didn't really get all of those done. It's because I didn't have any emotion behind these desires. So I made it super simple. You want to know how I made it simple? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm dropping stuff that I've kind of accumulated all together. This hasn't been the whole framework. This is the framework, is this right here. D.R.G.T and this 4 desires. Everything else, I'm just like giving it to y'all because I have so much. I want you to know if you're coming up behind me and walking this path, because I just wish someone would have told me. So if it comes to these desires and how I'm simplifying it, is I'm basing it off each area of my life. Okay, so what are the areas of our lives? We have, right? We have health, we have fitness, we have financial, we have relationships. Oops, health and fitness, those are the same thing. Personal, I'd say personal enrichment. These are great first 4 to start with, but you can have a whole bunch of other categories like career or art or business or whatever the case. I think that all those other stuff can fall into this. But for me, I was like, I need to keep it simple because typically my brain gets super complex and it wants to go very big picture. But I really wanted to keep it simple this year. So what I did is I have one desire for each of these categories, and that's it. And I was like, I'm just gonna focus on 4 things this year. 2024, we're gonna focus on 4 things this year, and that's it. Because when you break this down even further, y'all are like, what is that last one? What does the R stand for? The last one starts for routines. So this is when I started getting a mind switch with Brendon, and I really appreciate that about him because he put 2 and 2 together that I was like, okay, I was like, I've heard of routines and habits, but I haven't heard about them in this way. But I'm so glad that he told me because I can share it with you, and hopefully you're able to grasp it better than I can. So if I don't explain it all like as perfect as Brendon, go watch his videos. I'm sure he will explain it because he is a high performance coach and coaches billionaires. I'm coaching those who are coming up behind me, if that's okay. All right, so we create routines to create habits. Why do we want habits? What are habits? Habits is when we go into autopilot. So for instance, brushing our teeth in the morning, right? Probably stretching. Oh, stretching when you get up from the bed. Putting your left shoe on before then your right shoe. Tying your shoes either bunny ears or the loopy-loop one, right? Like those are habits where you do it over and over again, you're not even thinking. Like has there ever been a time when you're driving home and you've taken the same route for the past year and like sometimes you're just kind of in thought and you're thinking, hopefully you're driving at the 10 and the 2, but you're just like in thought and you're thinking and next thing you know you're home? That's a habit, right? So again, the thing I had to switch was like, we create routines to create habits, okay? So for instance, a habit that I want, that I want this season, and I just want to start waking up earlier. This last season or this last year, I was not doing that. I was waking up like around 10. So I want to start waking up around 6. I kind of want to switch the 2 now. Okay, so what routines do I need to create to make sure I create the habit of waking up at 6? Oh my goodness, okay. Well, the routine is that, first off, I need to have a night routine and a morning routine, right? But my night routine, you got to fight the night, start in the night. So for me, that's like putting out my clothes out the night before, making sure that I put out my workout clothes the night before, putting out a glass of water so I drink it in the morning, putting my phone across the room, all of these things, right? Because then eventually it will create the habit that, first off, will put my body in and like, okay, it's time to go to bed because you're starting to do your routine. But second, it'll create the habit for me to wake up early in the morning. And of course, the biggest thing I need to do in that routine is be in the bed by 9 p.m., right? At least for me. So that's the point of routines, is so that they create the habits. It's like, oh, okay, that makes so much more sense, right? So let's bring this all together really quick. So we start with our desires. Again, desires means, what is your why? What is your why? I'm going to put this here. What is your why 7 times? So if you have a desire for health, personal enrichment, financial, and relationships, those are just 4 to start off with. You can literally just Google major categories of life, and you can plug in the ones that you want to work on for 2024. But these for me are just like a good like starting point. This is something that we all have as humans, right? What is my one desire in each section? So maybe it's that losing that 20 pounds. The personal enrichment for me is to create more than consume. The financial part is, increasing. The financial part is building an asset. The relationship part is having deeper connections with my best friend, right? So then I have to ask myself, well, why is that important to me, right? And I want you to do the why because this is where the emotion comes in there. That's where the energy emotion comes in, is when you do the why 7 times. So once you have all that emotion, then you know that you're not going to fall off in March, you know? Because when you get to revisit these again, ideally we want to look at these like every day, every night, and really like get that into our programming. Then we're not going to fall off in March. Okay, but say you've completed your desires. You've gotten the desire of what makes you feel more alive. You got desires to feel more deep connections. You got desires of meaningful pursuits. And you know that you're pursuing growth all along the way. Then what's next? So it goes into the routine. So this is how it goes. Start with number 1. Okay? And then you funnel desires into routine. Okay, what routines do I need to create? So it's like a whole bunch of little things, right? What routines do I need to create the habits? Okay? So then what are my goals? So again, the goal that's going to make me stretch is that I want to wake up at 6 a.m. Okay? That's the goal. That's a stretch because I was waking up at 10. So that's a whole 4 hours now. Last week I was waking up at 10, but this week we're waking up like around like 8 o'clock. And I'm not mad about that. Okay? So what are all the things that need to happen to make sure that I wake up at 6 a.m.? Exactly what I shared with you. These are the tasks. So putting out my water, putting out my clothes the night before, setting my phone across the room. Those are the tasks, right? So once you've done that, again, most people, 90% of people start right here. They just start the goals and the tasks, and that's why they fall off in March. But we have to make sure that the tasks is not just busy work. I don't know about you, I can get caught up in busy work all day. Right here, we want to think about leverage tasks that are actually going to move the needle forward. So what that may look like is putting out my clothes the night before. I know another one is putting that phone way across the room. Like get that thing out of my face, because if it's just next to me, I'm just going to snooze it. And so we want to make sure that these tasks, once you got these desires and these routines, they funnel into your goals, which then show you your tasks. So then you want to make sure that your tasks, because a lot of times we can start just building a whole bunch of busy work for no reason. You want to make sure that these tasks align with these goals, which align with these routines, which align with these desires. The ultimate desire, is who you're becoming. Who you're becoming. Does that make sense so far? If it doesn't make sense, please put that in the comments below. If it does make sense, put it in the comments below. If it doesn't make sense, I'll go ahead and jump in the comments and I'm gonna further explain it for you. If I might have to make another video, then I'll make another video for you. But this is this framework, right? This is this framework as opposed to from starting off with the goals. We're starting off with our desires, then we're building these routines, then we're getting these goals that make us stretch, and then we're creating the tasks. We're not starting right here, we're starting right here. So most importantly, again, remember what season you're in. Just to round this off, I want to run this with you really quick, because I know I just dropped a whole bunch of information on you, but most importantly is implementation, is action. Okay, so I'm not going to just drop all this information with you and then we're not going to actually put it into action. Because that's what I'm just going to be transparent with you, that's what I got caught up in. I got caught up in just consuming so much information that I never implemented it. So I want to make sure that we implement this. Because if we don't implement it, then what was the point of consuming it? And so I just don't ever want y'all to come here and be like, oh, that was great. I'm like, no. Like I truly, like if you have not yet put your phone across the room, have yet to get in a fireplace, like this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it because I want you to practice it right here, right now. And I challenge you to do that because you're already here. And if you're here, then I already know that you're ready to grow, you know? So let's go ahead and get started with that. So we're just gonna start from the beginning so then it starts becoming comprehensive for you, okay? We're gonna start with our desire. So again, we have those 4 areas of our life. 4 main areas: health, I'm gonna put PD, personal development, personal enrichment, finances, relationships. Okay? So I'm going to choose one goal, right? I'm going to choose not one goal. I'm going to choose one desire. So I'm going to choose the 6 a.m. one because that's in real time. That's in real time for me. So my goal that's going to stretch me is wake up at 6 a.m. Okay? So then I'm going to ask myself, why? Why 7 times, right? Why do I want to wake up at 6 a.m.? Okay, let's do this work together. Because now I have to think about it. Why do I want to wake up at 6 a.m.? Because, it's early. Why do I want to wake up at 6 a.m.? So, write down one of your desires. Write down the desire and follow along. Okay? So I'm just working through it in my mind with one of my goals, so you get an idea of what this can look like for you. Okay? And so again, there's no perfect or right way to do this. This is just me like bringing it full circle for you, so that you don't just come here and you're like, oh, that was cool. Like, no, we're gonna do it together. Okay? So I want to wake up at 6 a.m. because I've been waking up late. I've been waking up late, and people start texting at 10 a.m. and that's what time I was waking up. And so they're texting me at 10 a.m. and I'm waking up at 10 a.m. So then like my brain, like the first thing I did was like I would grab my phone and like, right? Like I start getting back to everybody because some people have already been up for 2 hours. Okay, so why do I want to wake up? Well, because I don't want to feel rushed in the morning. I didn't like feeling rushed, like I couldn't just like settle into it. Okay, well, why were you feeling rushed? Well, because I was staying up late. Well, why were you staying up late? Because I was working. Okay, but why are you working, staying up late? No, because I don't clock in and clock out. Okay, so why don't you clock in and clock out? Well, it's because I'm a freelancer right now. You know? Okay, so why am I freelancing right now? It's because I wanted flexibility. Okay, and then why do I want flexibility? For me, it's because that's how I best operate. Okay. Okay. So why do you best operate that way? Well, because then it's less pressure. You know, I don't like when someone's just like over my shoulder all the time, you know? Okay? And why do you like less pressure? Yeah, because less pressure is then I can put the energy into it that I want. Okay? So then the question is, you know, why are you, you know, what it's revealing to me right now is that because I get to put the energy into it that I want, when I wake up in the morning and I feel rushed, I don't put the energy or even have the energy in the morning to put in my best work. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I just couldn't put in my best work because I just like jumped into work and I didn't even get the chance to like settle in. So I didn't put or even have any energy into that, you know? So the reality is, why weren't you doing that? It's because I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't have any boundaries with myself, with work. Okay, well, why didn't you have any boundaries with work? Well, the reality is, it's because my mom didn't have boundaries. And I say that because my mom is self-employed, and I never like saw her stop working. She's still doing it today. She like, if it's 5 p.m., she's still working. 7 p.m., still working. 11 p.m., still working. I remember being a kid, and like I'd go to sleep, getting ready for school the next day. I'd wake up, she's probably fallen asleep on the desk. The night lamp is still on. She's in her pajamas and she's still working. And so what's really coming down to it is my mom didn't have boundaries around work, right? And why didn't my mom have boundaries around work? Well, one, no one taught her, but I think also, yeah, you know, she was self-employed. Like, no one was helping her, you know? And she was self-employed. You know, and so that comes with, again, being an immigrant. And so the idea that I have in my head is that you're an immigrant and you have to work hard. They don't have this idea of work smarter, not harder type of thing. It's just work hard, period. So that's probably why I don't have any boundaries around my work, because if I want to get ahead, then I have to work hard. And so that means I was staying up late till 1 a.m., and that's why I still want to get enough sleep, so that's why I'm waking up at 10 a.m. and I'm feeling rushed, and it's like, because I don't have any boundaries around work. You see how that happens? See how that worked right there? And obviously I said start with 7, but I got to 13, and now the reality, I'm like, oh, okay, I need boundaries around work. That's what really spoke to me. Like, oh my gosh. But now, like, you see how that energy is being energy in motion, right? That emotion is coming up. I'm like, oh, okay. So when work is done, like, work needs to be done. Okay, well, what does that look like? So now I need to set the routine, okay? So that's what I'm saying, y'all, like, this takes time. And that's why I'm walking through it with you, because I don't want you just to be like, okay, like, I'm going to set my desired routines and goals, but, like, this is the kind of work that it takes to be, like, to get some energy, momentum out of that desire. So it's like, now I'm going to wake up. When I wake up at 6 a.m., it's because I've set routines. Now we're going to get into that. I've set routines the night before and fight the night so that I can have a great morning, to make sure I don't feel rushed, and making sure that I'm setting those boundaries that my mom didn't do, right? So let's move on to that part. So you did your why 7 times. Again, ideally you want to do this for a health goal, a personal development goal, a financial goal, a relationship goal, whatever that looks like to you. Or you can go back to the other desires, right? The aliveness, the deep connections, the meaningful pursuits, and the growth. So it's just, there's a lot of categories in which you can do that in. But do the one that fits best for you. The 4 desires I just wanted to share with you as a starting place, that if you're human and you have been here a while, those might be some of your desires that you may have, okay? So that was the desire, waking up at 6 a.m., okay? So now what routines do I need to create? Okay, so again, the routine is to create the habit, right? Okay, so the routine is, in my mind right now, the routine is, so what I have, it's in my phone too. So at 7 p.m., I'm going to log off. Log off the internet, my phone, things of that sort. So also at 7 p.m., I added accountability in there, because for me, like, I realized, like, when we have accountability to others, it's really hard to let them down. It's really easy to let ourselves down if we don't have accountability to anybody else, because it's just us, right? We can always let ourselves down, unfortunately. But when you have accountability to others, you're less likely to let them down. So I log off, and then I call my friend, and then we talk about what got done. What got done for the day, and just share. So I know, like, I'm triggered. Okay, I gotta call this friend. We're done with work for the rest of the day. So then from 7 p.m., so I think we're probably talking for like 30 minutes. And then so from 7:30 to like 8:30, I start my night routine, right? So it goes back to the routines. So this is a routine in itself, but my night routine, what that looks like is logging off and then taking a shower, right? So this, what we're doing right now is we're creating the routine. So it's like, so after that, then we're like doing the night routine. So it's taking a shower, putting clothes out, putting out my water, something like it. Those are 3 things. I'm not gonna go through my whole list, but this is what I gotta do from 7:30 to 8:30, and so then by 9 p.m. I'm in bed. Okay, I may not be asleep, but at least I'm in bed. Okay, the phone is across the room, all that stuff. And so this is the routine that's working to create the habit, because now I'm in bed by 9 p.m., that's working to create the habit for 6 a.m. And let's be honest, y'all, like this is gonna take a while. Like they say, most people, it's like 21 days to break a habit, whatever the case, but it's like 66 days to really get it solidified. So like, that's what I'm saying, like I had to go simple. I had to go so simple because 66 days, that's 2 months already, you know, so it's like 2 months out of the year. I was like 2, 4, 6, 8. This is already 8 months out of the year just from one goal at a time. So I was just like, okay, like keep it simple and really build these routines and habits that's working towards the person I want to become, right? So truly, when it comes down to this, the desire, I think what it's looking like is that this is the goal, but the desire is to have work boundaries. Especially in this season, right? I want work boundaries. I desire to have work boundaries that when work is done, work is done. Yeah, because I'm definitely someone, like my mom, like I'll work and I will burn the midnight oil, as they say, and keep the lamp going. Okay, so then we got the goal. We have the desire of work boundaries. You see how that kind of revealed itself by doing our why 7 times? And then these right here are the tasks. Logging off, call a friend, take the shower. So this is when you write down, like, okay, we logged off, we called a friend. Okay, cool, we took the shower. Okay, we put the clothes out. Okay, we got the water out. Great, I'm in bed. Those are the tasks. Does that make sense? So again, I wanted to break this down with you because it takes time. It takes time. And again, I want to celebrate you for even getting started this in the first place. Because this is something that most people don't do. I already know 90% of people don't do this. And so if you're here, I just want you to celebrate yourself. So again, if you are here and it's 2024, I challenge you to potentially scrap what you did for 2023. If there's some on there, if there's goals on there that you're like, yeah, like that feels good to me, like that brings energy out of me, that brings aliveness out of me, then like keep that. Let's bring that onto here. But then, like, build that energy, build that emotion, build that momentum, and ask yourself, why do I want to do those things? Why do I desire that? And so, when you do that, then you start breaking down your routines. Like I said, this year I'm keeping it simple, just because in the past I've gotten really, really big picture minded, and it really just kind of felt like I was chasing my tail. So this year I'm experimenting with just going simpler. So I really hope that this helped you. I hope that, again, that you take me on in this challenge of setting your desires as opposed to your goals, and starting there and gaining that momentum and that energy so that you last through March, through June. And so after you're done with all of this, make sure you review this. Review this every night, every day. Review this every night and every day. That's a whole task right there. Right before bed, probably right before bed, I would review it, right? Review it. Do whatever you have to do. For me, I have whiteboards. Up at wazoo. I'm a teacher. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, okay, like, because the reality is, y'all, we live during a time in humanity where so many things are trying to grab our attention. So many things want our attention. That is the new oil. So if we're not constantly putting it in our face, and I say this, I come from a background, I just recently learned the skill of like advertising and marketing and things of that sort, like more intentionally, and it's just really about being in your face. Unfortunately, that's just what it is. And I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen here on this channel, because that's not what I'm here to do. Again, I'm here to just leave some breadcrumbs for the people coming in behind me, some clues, some tools, some tips and tricks and resources so that they can put it in their door or backpack as they're continuing to walk their path. But I just want you to know, as someone who's on the other side and has learned what it means to, like, you know, be in this society, like, we just have to constantly be in your face. So I want you to take your attention back. Take your attention back on what you desire. Not what your parents desire, not what your family, what your friends, your partners, the community, like, what do you want in this life? As we know, the pandemic reminded us that we don't know how much time we have. So if you can go back and ask yourself, what do I desire in 2024? In this season. Gosh, that's so big. I wish someone would have told me that. I have festered so many feelings of disappointment and guilt and shame. I would have been like, man, I'm in a winter season, or what it is, you know? And I know things are growing. I know things are growing, even though you can't see them. But I challenge you, do this work. Ask yourself what you really, really want in 2024. And know that you can have it if you put in the work. Not only in paper, but in person. So again, there's nothing more important, y'all, than action. Okay? But you know what comes before action? Is decision. You know what decision means? To cut off. To cut off any other options. It means to draw a line in the sand. From who you are to who you want to be. So you just have to decide. So when you have these desires, when you wrote down your why, what's your decision? What are you saying no to? What are you saying yes to? What are you deciding to cut off? To cut off so that you can have those desires. Okay? Because once you've made that decision, then you go into action. Then you go into action. And that's what I want you all to get from this channel. I want you to get action. I want you to get implementation. I want you to get integration. And I say this because, again, as an information gatherer, my brain is just like, oof, it's full. It's full, it's full, it's full. But I'm here right now because I want to implement. This is my implementation. This is my integration. Is sharing this information with all of you so that I can make room. Make room for new information that I can share with all of you so that we can continue to practice integrating. Okay? This right here, most important part, y'all. Because right now, there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but we need to empty it out. And emptying it out means action. Emptying out means creating. Emptying it out means putting it out into the world, right? Like living through it, getting that out of us one way or another. And my favorite way is through creativity. We're all creators. We're all creative, you know? So get it out through creativity. Do things with your hands. Do things with your bodies. You know, write something, you know, like whatever the case may be. So take that action after you've made that decision. What are you deciding in 2024 to do? For me, I'm deciding and willing to put in the work to wake up at 6 a.m. Maybe next year it'll be 5 a.m. But whatever that may look like, I've made the decision this year. I'm not going to be sleeping until 10 a.m. anymore. That's not who I am. I'm someone who wakes up at 6 a.m. That's the new me. That's the desired version of myself that I want to be. So, thank you all so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Again, please, pat yourself on the back. I say that because not enough people do that. I'm not saying to get yourself participation points. I'm saying celebrate yourself, especially if you're willing to take that action. You know, because again, most people are not. And so, like I said, I just feel like we're in a world right now where sometimes we just don't celebrate ourselves that often. And I want you to do that for yourself. If anything, I'm celebrating you. I'm celebrating you for being here. So, you know what to do with all the YouTube stuff, but I'm going to be real with you. Again, I don't want you to stay on here forever. I want you to get into the world, go live your life. You know, we don't know how much longer we have, and so I just wanted to give this to you. If you're coming up behind me, man, I wish someone would have told me about desires instead of goals. I wish someone would have told me about acknowledging the season that I'm in. I wish someone would have told me that these are the main areas that we could be focusing in life, that these are the 4 main desires of what it means to be human. And I have to ask myself, what is it that I desire? What is it that makes me feel alive? What is it that fosters deep connection? What are meaningful pursuits that I can have? And what fosters and cultivates growth? So, thank you again so much for watching. Subscribe, don't subscribe, that's up to you. And I just want you to just think about it, y'all. If you're someone like me who's an information gatherer, I'm going to say this with love, but we need to just decide, right? We need to choose. And what I mean by that is like choose your guides. what I got caught up in is I was choosing too many guides, too many teachers. And I got really confused because they were all saying something different. Find someone out there that you're like, I resonate with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like I'm walking their path. I feel like I'm right behind them. And if you feel like I'm that person for you, then yeah, please subscribe. If you don't feel like I'm that person, that's totally okay. I'm here because I know there's a group of people that I'm meant to serve, that I'm meant to help. And I have so much to give you all. Man, it's just all in here, and I can't wait to get back here. So the next time you can see me is going to be in a couple weeks. We're going to start off small. I'm not going to be over here and be like, we're going to do this every day. Like, no, we'll start small. So I'm going to see you every 2 weeks. So that's going to be twice a month. So you can look forward to a new video in 2 weeks. I'm going to go through my curriculum and figure out what's in there, what I feel like you all need. So if there's anything that you all want to learn more about, if you could leave that in the comments below, please let me know. I'm definitely someone who's like, to go get that information, do it. This right here, if y'all have been here for an hour, I sat through 8 hours of this. And I just conceptualize it for you in 1 hour. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less. But I love doing that. I love watching something, and I love being the messenger and bringing it back. So if there's something that you want to learn more about when it comes to personal enrichment, personal development, professional development, let me know. I'm sure that I have some sort of curriculum in that. And if I don't, then I'll seek that out for you. But if you don't have that idea or anything like that, we'll just start figuring it out as we go. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching again. I really, really appreciate your time. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye now.